Hey there, my name is Samuel Lewis. I live in Williamsburg, Kentucky, and this season on The Fakist, I am playing both Carl and, well, another character that's returning, so that'll be fun.
My name is Gretchen Schneider, and I'm playing Cindy McNeil on The Fakist, and I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Gretchen, it's great to be talking to you. Why don't, before we get into anything else, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your background in acting and performing?
I didn't actually start doing theater until I got to college, so I was 18 when I did my first play, and I went to a university, school in West Virginia where I'm from, and once I did my first play, I switched my science major and just fully immersed myself in the acting and the theater scene at my college and around town, where I met Bill, because we did community theater together. And then from there on, the Towngate Theater. And so from then on, I think there's only about 4 years of my life after that I didn't do theater, and is when I ran around and moved to a few different states. So I came back in 2005, went back to college, finished my degree, and I've just been acting ever since. And I moved to New York in 2015 to go to a theater conservatory here. And now I just live in New York. And before the quarantine, I would do plays in New York, but now we're
not so much.
Now we're all kind of stuck in the virtual acting world. So,
well, that's fine, because I had a stack of scripts for everyone to perform on, so it's okay.
How did I get involved with the project? Me and Bill both belong to a online community known as the Diamond Club. It's fans of a specific group of different podcasts, and some of us are even part of it. It gets kind of loose. But anyway, he put out a call in that community that he needed voice actors. I had never done voice acting before. It was something I had always wanted to do. So I decided, let's take a chance. So I tried out, and sure enough, the second season of The Fakist, he gave me a few options. He just sent the scripts along and said, do these. And I expected them to be small parts. You got a new guy starting out. And then he hands me Bill Gates, for Pete's sakes. And I have to do that, which I do impressions. So, I guess he tuned in on that.
What motivates you?
Guess you can't keep your life password protected forever, huh? Okay, it's true. When I'm not working with Melinda to save humanity, I like to live. Be honest. If you had my resources, wouldn't you?
That was just an amount of faith that he put in me that I was very happy that he had put into me, and I think it paid off in that bit.
So why don't you just talk briefly about how I kind of suckered you into this project?
Well, no, I'm very happily, whatever the response that is, happily sucked in. You just emailed me one day and just said, hey, you have a role available. Somebody was no longer available to do the part. Would I be interested in doing some voiceover stuff? And I was very excited to say yes, because it's a medium I haven't done very much of. So I was excited to both get some experience in it and work with you again.
Well, thank you very much. And the check's in the mail on that one. But you mentioned a little bit, voice acting and stage acting. They're kind of different disciplines in a lot of ways. What did you find to be the most challenging thing about going from being more of a stage actress to trying to do voice?
Well, I've been told before on a number of occasions that I'm a woman of a million faces. So taking that aspect away from it, I had to just really focus on using different ways to, do, voice acting. So you have to use more inflections or different, maybe put on funny accents, or you have to do a lot more because no one can see you. You're changing all these little moments, but only with your voice and not your face.
That's the same with me. Like, people have always told me my strength is like in my eyes and in my crazy faces and everything. And when you're voice acting, you have none of that, which is why I always talk really loud as Paul Defoe, because I feel really, I am trying to compensate for the fact that I can't like flail my arms around and everything.
Then my personal assistant, who you'd think I would have mentioned before, came in.
Paul? Phone call? They say it's important.
Who is it, Carl? We have a show to save.
She said her name was Cindy McNeil.
What has Carl been doing behind the scenes since we haven't seen him this entire time? Because Carl is Paul's assistant. In my mind, I think that Carl has been the long-suffering, and emphasis on long-suffering assistant in the background. I think what he's been doing is putting out fires, pretty much, because KCON Studios, if you listen to the first 2 seasons, is almost always metaphorically on fire somehow, right? So I think that that's what he's been doing, and he's been so busy with that we haven't even begun to see a bit of him until season 3. And as insane as some of this stuff has gone, some of it might be a bit more worse if he wasn't putting out fires.
This isn't the first time we've collaborated. Obviously, we met at Towngate Theater. We were talking while we were doing recording sessions for the Fakist. Apparently, our second show was the same show, and we were in it together, which was The Man Who Came to Dinner, which surprised me because, I rolled in there, and you know how theater clicky kids are kind of clicky. It kind of felt like you were like the super cool kid, and I was like this little nerd running around there because my girlfriend was working the lights. And
I had a similar reason for being one of the cool kids, was because I was dating Dave, who was best friends with Larry, who was best friends with Ron. So 3 degrees of separation. Oh, actually, I was very good friends with Ron at the time as well, but not as close as they had all been. So Larry is kind of like the kingpin of West Liberty's theater at the time. So I, by default, was immediately in the clique with them. I remember distinctly sitting in the Stifle Center yard. We were doing a read through.
I remember that.
We were outside, and the group of because there was a very big cast, and there was like mainly about like 4 bigger leads, if you will, and then everybody kind of interspersed and did different roles, somewhat doubling, I think at times, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I think I played a different character in every act. I'm pretty sure.
I was gonna say, I think you had multiple roles. But I remember they were goofing off, and Ron was like, "Hey, everybody, you might have been I don't know if you were in the group or not, but I remember it was Justin Meisenhelder said this, because Ron was like, guys, focus, get together." And they're like, "Why? We're just the small actors. It doesn't matter." And I remember saying very sincerely, "There are no small parts, only," only small actors. And Justin Meisenhelder said, "Only actors with leads say that." And I was like, "Oh, well, touche, I guess," because I did have one of the leads.
I absolutely remember that. I absolutely remember that. I also remember some people maybe saying some not nice things about you. "Oh, she's so stuck up and stuff," later on.
Oh, I was really trying to be so sincere. I'd never done theater before. Granted, I probably fell into that role for a friendship connection, but Ron Scott did tell me about somewhere into the production, the rehearsal process. He's like, I gave you this role because, friends, and, you auditioned for it but you really can act, So I was like, oh, and I'm as probably vain as that sounds right now, is very humbling, because I was like, oh my God, Ron Scott told me I can act. But yeah.
Another show we did together at Brook Hills Playhouse was kind of like that for me. Dial M for Murder, if you remember that. And our friend Billy Clough directed it, and when he cast me in it, I was like, "What are you doing, man? Like, I should not be, this huge kind of the villain of the piece a little bit." But
you were very good in that. That was a really good role for you. That was a lot of fun.
I remember being very excited because it was the first time I was a smoker back then. It was the first time I was ever able to smoke on stage, but because they had to be period accurate, we used unfiltered Pall Malls. And I do remember one night, because we would party at the Playhouse afterwards, running up to the stage because I was out of cigarettes and I needed a cigarette. So just take one of the prop cigarettes.
Lots of Heinekens back in those days, I remember.
Oh, absolutely. And Black Velvet. I drank a lot of Black Velvet back then.
Oh, yeah.
Another
Black
another
velvet and
show
non Pall Malls. Oh, go on.
another show we did together, and I just happened to think about this right before we got together here, is the the Enchantment of Beauty and the Beast. This is the kids show you directed at the Playhouse. We would sit back in the light booth cueing the lights and just making fun of the kids performing Beauty and the Beast on stage.
And then remember we wrote Justin and JG in because we needed to ball people men for the girls at the ball. So I remember thinking, this is so creepy watching these 20-somethings with all these teenagers like as their dates.
Yeah, well, that's how it was at the Playhouse, and I actually think it probably prepared me a lot for doing this project, because you know things would come up, and like I know for when we did the Into the Woods production, which was 1 or 2 before Beauty and the Beast, they needed a baby on stage, and they couldn't afford a baby, so they had me stand backstage with a mic and do my baby cry, which is like that. And so I played the baby, but that's a skill that served me very well in the Fakist, because basically at the end of the day, if I don't have someone for a part, I have to do it, or I have to find someone to do it. And it kind of taught me to think on my feet, which kind of brings us to the part you're playing, which is Cindy McNeil, my character Paul's ex-girlfriend as of the pilot episode. You are the 3rd person, I believe, to ever play this role of Cindy McNeil.
Paul Defoe back in the studio wants to know, and I quote, "What the hell do you think you're doing?"
Give me that. You listening, asshole? Stop calling me. I've moved on.
Yeah, the first one was Elizabeth Placencia, who was a listener of my old podcast, Greetings from Storybrooke, and I brought a bunch of those people in for the first couple episodes. And then, she went and had a kid, and she can't really do it anymore. So for the Christmas special, we had my wife's friend Melody, who sounded kind of like Liz.
You want me to be honest?
The Fakist? Be honest? That sounds amazing.
How was it kind of stepping in and playing a role that has been played by 2 different actresses?
I don't know if it's good or bad, but I didn't know too much history, and I didn't know what the other actresses had done. So I think that might have been a good thing for me because it was less intimidating maybe. So yeah, I guess I was nervous because I don't know how the relationships were with the other women and how their performances were. So I don't know, I guess I was just nervous because to do something someone's already done before and not, without trying to copy it, but also give it a good representation. So, and again, I was very new to voiceover acting in general. So I don't think I had to worry about that as much because I was just more nervous about doing a good job in the first place.
I think you did a great job. And, the other 2 actresses who have played Cindy McNeil, they weren't really actresses, so to speak. So I knew for this season, because there's some pretty heavy stuff in that scene. I mean, it's a funny scene, but there's some heavy stuff in there. So I knew I wanted to have someone who had some dramatic chops.
Look, Paul, I came here because I have something to tell you. I'm dying, Paul.
Well, that's not funny. I thought this was a comedy show. There it is.
Gretchen, since this is your first season being on the Fakist, you're not really aware of how we did things before. It sucked. I think this season's a lot better versus me sending out scripts and people sending back individual lines and me pasting them together. We all hopped in on a service called Zencaster and recorded together. So what did you think about that experience, sort of, acting, not being able to see the people, trying to, get something from them in audio?
Because of how quick it was, it made it a little easier because, you're less intimidated by big people watching you, which is ironic because, I'm a stage actor, so people just sit there and stare at me the whole time, but I don't see them, so it's a little bit different. But again,
yeah, the lights help.
Yeah, they drown out, the sea of blackness that the audience becomes. But yeah, I think being new, knowing that you guys, I wasn't sure how long and who all would work together for how long. So that took a little pressure off, not having to see people, but it also made it a little bit more fun because you can't predict what someone's going to do at all. Like you're just hearing their voices come through, and for the first time doing these scenes, so that made it really authentic to the process of reacting in the moment. So that was kind of cool about it.
I have loved being able to record live with everyone because honestly, the great thing about recording live with everyone is, one, I get to meet everyone, because before we were just sending in our recordings. I had a friend that would read the other lines off for me. That way I'd have someone to bounce off of. But with this, I'm legitimately bouncing off of the people themselves, and it's been fantastic to do that. So not only meet these people that I have been listening to and technically working with this whole time, but improv sessions. There's a couple of times where he had us do some improvs in the recordings just to make some scenes that weren't scripted and stuff, and I had a blast.
Oh, Ella, I didn't know you like comic books. What comic books do you like?
I don't. My cousin has like this stack that's as tall.
So, at what point are these two hooking up, you think?
Yeah, Carl, I get a weird, like, romance vibe out of them. I don't know.
So is it like 4-color or 16-color?
Even if one of those managed to milk a swear word out of me, because I thought it was appropriate at the time. So there's a possibility you guys may hear more swearing out of me than the general public is used to, but when it comes to playing a character, I'll sometimes take those sacrifices and fall on those swords.
I think if there's anything I had to do over again, I would, because Zencastr has an ability to do it with video too. I was worried about people's computers crashing, so I didn't want to do it. But, even with a slight delay of talking online and everything, eye contact is so important. Yeah. And I think if there was anything that I had trouble with as an actor, it was just, it was that sarcastic, or was that sort of just like making a joke with me, or what were they trying to do there? Because you don't have that, lock in that you have in live performance.
I need to know that I regret everything.
I hope that's not true. What about the good times we had? When you'd shave my back in the morning? That time we were kicked off an international flight for stripping in the aisle?
Yeah, and then we had to wait on the tarmac in handcuffs naked to each other.
My God, that was so hot.
Yeah, I think about it often.
Yeah, but unfortunately, when they took us to the jail, they didn't have any extra clothes for us, so we had to be there naked in the jail with all these people around. It was weird.
Yeah, but then we made that really, really cool couple friend, remember?
Yeah, and then when we got back to the States, we met up with them, and we didn't really get along until we stripped down.
No, exactly. I guess we just were better off naked friends.
Yeah, I mean, naked friends are the best friends, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of good times.
I liked the improv moments, just when we'd go through the scene a few times and then you'd say, okay, now just this happens and we have to create something just right there. That was a lot of fun. I haven't done that in a long, long time.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that too, because, for the first 2 seasons, it was me like writing all these scripts, sending them out, getting them back. And that was it. There wasn't too much collaboration there. And we basically, for every scene we did, we tried to do, 1 to 2 little improv bits that I could fit into the stuff I had written. It was just promoted a great sense of play among the performers, especially the ones who came back multiple times, and sort of built a rapport, and they had go-to topics they would go to for their improvs. So I think, if I ever did a project like this again, we would be doing a lot more of that. It would be more of like the Office level of improv versus just like little bits here and there.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to talk about, because, history of collaboration, I wanted to talk a little bit, and I'll probably play some clips of it without the music. We did a music video together back in 2005, 2006, where it was basically this girl sitting down to watch TV. She sees this nerd, me, coming to, court her with these flowers and everything. She's flipping through channels. We got to play all sorts of these different characters. We did like a WB teen detective drama, Little Shop of Horrors, all this stuff. Ran around Wheeling, West Virginia for probably 2 or 3 weeks shooting it and everything.
So much fun. Where we were videotaping, there was a cat. So we had a nice little improv moment when I was getting the popcorn and the cat jumps on the counter and I get to say cat unscripted. we videotaped from my bedroom angle doing the say anything. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun because, again, video is not one of my main mediums. I'm mainly a stage actress. So, and I just moved back. So it was the first time I'd done anything in 4 years. So you're you're the person who gives me my starts in these mediums, Bill. So that's kind of fun.
Well, 2024 virtual reality, it's coming for sure. The thing I remember the most about that is just because there were so many setups in that video. We did so many different style parodies, which is something we've done a lot of on the Fakist that, I never knew when we were going to be able to all collaborate and get together and shoot. So in the trunk of my car, I had costumes and props and like a bloody t-shirt and all this stuff like back there for weeks and weeks and weeks. I was hoping I wasn't going to get pulled over. But, I guess that's the nice thing about audio drama. You don't have to carry around too many props. So, okay, Gretchen, well, I won't keep you too much longer. I'll just say here real quick, do you have anywhere online people can go to follow you and the stuff you're doing up there in Brooklyn?
I've been very bad about self-promotion. So I have an Instagram page, but that's more of just photos. My Gretchen Schneider actor on Instagram, that is just... I will probably have to keep that more updated on things I'm doing.
I guess the easiest plug that I can give you guys is tscn.tv. That's where all my stuff is, and my social is tscnsam anywhere. So just that's my stuff, and I am so happy that Bill gave me this opportunity, and I can't wait for you guys to hear the episodes. I have not heard the fully produced versions yet, but if the scenes that I am recording with everyone so far are any indication, it's going to be one heck of a season, and I really look forward to hearing the finished product along with the rest of you guys.
I don't have to tell you guys that things are bad, but I think if we kick names and take ass tonight, we might just be able to save the show.
Turn on your TVs, honey, let's go. Let's watch the fake news team and that jerk Paul the foe. They only have one day to save the show. There's a fake news worth saving. They'll fight really hard, but it'll still blow. For the fakest news show is a fading. For the fakest news show is a fading.
Now we arrive at the day in question, December 13th, 2021. One last day to save the show.
One Last Day, a standalone story set in the world of the Fakist. Starting March 3rd on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and, well, everywhere else.